I'm Aiman. Welcome back to one of my auto repair videos. Today, I'm going to show you I'm going to give you tips on how to realign your tires. Today, I'm working on my brother Oscar's Honda Insight Hybrid 2010, and we recently replaced the lower control arm and ball joint on his car. You can go check out that video if you're interested. But today, we're trying to realign the realign the tires. I apologize for the wind. We're trying to realign the tires because replacing the lower control arm will make it a bit crooked. And in order to determine how it's crooked, we'll show you on this car. So what do I mean when I say crooked? Because it's not very specific. What I mean by this is that when we're driving on a straight road, usually you're supposed to keep your steering wheel straight. But when we were driving on my brother Oscar's car, when the car went straight, we had to hold the steering wheel at an angle. I'm not going to show it here. Over here, I can say that when we were driving straight on a road, the steering wheel looks somewhat like this. So we knew that the wheels were, or the tires were crooked, which means that they weren't straight. So like, just to visualize it, this is the way that tires are supposed to go. They're supposed to be straight like my feet, but if they go out of alignment, they can go with their toe outwards or their toe inwards. Next step is going to be determining whether it's going inwards or outwards, but we'll show you that later. And last time that we had to get our wheels aligned, last time when Oscar's wheels spun out of control, his tires came off, and we had to replace a few parts. After that job, Oscar sent it to Walmart to get his wheels realigned. And that job costed about $120, supposedly for all 4 tires. However, in the back, those two tires, this one and the passenger side tire, they don't really change direction. So really, they did only an alignment on the front 2 tires. So $120 for 2 tire alignments, which costs quite a lot. In spite of that, you can actually manually align your tires. And that's what we're going to try to give you ideas on how to do in this video. Alright, so for this job, all you'll need is some string, tape measure, and a lot of patience. Oh, and also tools, but we'll get to that later. And before we get to the actual setup, which you can see right here, the first thing you need to do before you jack your car up is you want to get in your car, you want to turn it on, you want to drive back and forth, and you want to make sure that your car is straight. Then you want to jack your car up, and then you want to turn the steering wheel so that it's straight. The reason that we're doing this is because, oh my, that motorcycle is always coming. Make sure that the wheel is straight, and what that's going to end up doing is it's going to make your tires not straight. And the reason that we're doing this is so that we're essentially calibrating the car so that we're able to tell when the steering wheel is straight, so that we can calibrate it and make the wheel straight at the same time. Okay, so after you have the car jacked up, you have your steering wheel in the straight position. Now we're going to get to the setup. So you want to set up a few chairs on both sides of the car, and we have this brick slab here just to weigh it down. And the point of this is so that we can put strings on both sides of the car and attach it to both chairs. And the reason that we need to do this is because we're going to use the string as a guide to make sure that the wheels are straight. And in order to make sure that they're straight, there are many ways that you can base it off of. There are many different reference points. But in our case, we're going to assume that the rear wheels are already straight. And it's pretty reasonable that they're straight. But if they're not straight, then you might have to find a different reference point. In our case, we're going to use the rim of the rear tire. And you want to take the string, and you want to make sure that at both sides that it contacts with the string, you want to make sure that they're the same distance away. So for example, this one right here, make sure you don't juggle the string a bit too much. This is about 1 5. Alright, that looks about 1 5/16 of an inch. You want to make sure that on the other side, that's also 1 5/16 of an inch. And as you can see, it's about the same. And if you want to be more precise, you can use a caliper. Actually, I have a caliper, an electrical caliper, but I don't have it right now. So you're gonna have to base it off of your intuition. Just try to make sure that it's essentially straight. And we're going to use the back side as a reference point for making sure that the front is also straight. And we're going to use the same method. By the way, before you make sure that before you do the test on the back, you want to make sure that you take the hubcaps off. And the reason why is because if there's plastic on top, it might not provide as accurate measurements as when you're using metal, because plastic is more bendable, whereas metal is more hard, which means that it's more likely you'll get accurate measurements from the metal. Anyway, we're going to measure both sides that contact with the string to see if they're the same distance. This one is about 1 1/8 of an inch. And this one right here is also about 1 1/8 of an inch. So that means that this tire is also straight. It doesn't have to be the same distance as it is that you used for the back of the car. I said this one was 1 3/8 of an inch. And the reason why is because the front tire might be more inset than the rear tires. It makes sense that that side is in alignment because we haven't done any jobs on that side of the car since we got it realigned. However, on this side of the car, we did a job to it recently. We replaced the lower control arm. So it makes sense that this is not going to be aligned perfectly. And like I said before, I mean, you can see it like visibly that it's not aligned when we have it straight. Before this, let me make sure that the rear tire is also straight. This is about 1 3/8, give or take. And this is about 1 3/8, give or take. And of course you want to be as precise as possible, but even as precise as you can be, this is obviously going to be unaligned. And like I said earlier, when you do a job on one side of the car, it's probably going to affect the alignment of that tire. So it's always important to make sure that your tires are aligned after you do a job concerning one of the tires. Just for kicks and giggles, let's measure how much it's crooked. And on this side, it is about, I'd say about 1/2 inch. I can't, actually wait, no. This is a 5/8 of an inch. All right. This one, dang, that is about 1.5 inches. It doesn't matter how precise I am because as precise as I want to be, it's still going to be about 1 inch apart. So visually, you can tell that it's unaligned, but using math, you can also tell that this is unaligned. So in this situation, we have a toe inwards. So instead, it's going inwards. So in order to change the alignment of the tire, we're actually going to go under the car and rotate the tie rod, which I'll show you in a bit. But just before you do this, it is much easier to do this job with 2 people. And that's why after I show you how to do it, my dad's gonna help me out here, so we're not gonna be able to film it. All right, so we're under the car now. This right here is the tie rod that we're going to adjust. In order to adjust the tie rod, we need to loosen this bolt. In order to loosen this bolt without damaging this ball joint right here, we're going to hold it with another wrench. And this wrench is a number 17. I guess that only applies to Honda Insights, but we want to put this wrench right here at this flat spot, which has the shape that a wrench might fit into. Then you want to take an open wrench or a spanner wrench, and then you want to put it around this bolt. It might be locked up, so you want to use some PB Blaster to free it, but we've already done that. And then while holding this, you want to loosen this. We're going to bring it downwards. Okay. And as this loosens, you might notice that this tie rod actually moves with it, so you might actually have to hold it in place with another wrench while you loosen it here. Okay, I can do this by hand. Alright, so as you can see, we have the bolt far out. We don't need to loosen it too much, because we only need to loosen it the right amount so that we can move this back. And we're going to twist the tie rod now, this hexagonal side right here. We're going to use an open 12 spanner. No, this is a 14 actually. We're going to put it around the tie rod. and then we're going to rotate it so that we tighten it. And the reason that we're tightening it is because we want to bring the tire in. If you want to bring the tire out, you're going to want to loosen it. So if you think about it, when you're putting a screw in, if you tighten it, the screw goes inwards. So if you want the wheel to go inwards, you want to tighten it. You want to do the direction of tightening. But if you want to bring it outwards, you do the direction of loosening. All right, so let's tighten it. I'm not going to have much clearance, so I have to do this carefully. And as you do this, you're going to notice that the wheel goes back a bit. And as you do this, you're also going to need to go outside and actually check that it's straight. Which is why I said earlier that it's gonna be easier if you do this with someone else outside of the car to make sure that it's straight. So as you can see, as I tighten it, that distance between the bolt and the ball joint actually gets thinner, and that's how you know it's working. All right, let's get a camera outside. Oh, I can actually see it from here. That's really cool. All right, guys, is it straight? I can't tell. I might go too inward, but it's all right if I go too inward because I can just loosen it to make it go outward. All right, so my dad went out and he told me that the measurements were about 7/8 inch from the rear of the tire on the outside. And on the front side, it was about 1.5 inches. So there's a lot that we need to do in order to bring this in. And that means we're going to need to put a lot of elbow grease into this. And like I said earlier, this is probably going to rotate the tie rod as you try to rotate it. So let me just see. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see that actually. As I rotate this, you can see that the tie rod's also rotating. So in order to stop that from happening, you need to hold that in place while you're loosening this. I don't know if there's going to be... Oof, that is very, very hard to move. That's why you need to use some PB Blaster. Okay. Let's try tightening it a bit more. And as you can see, the distance between the bolt and the ball joint is getting shorter. And you can see that the tire is going up. Alright, let's measure it. Okay, that's about 1 1/16. This one right here is about 1 1/16. There we go. Whoa, and after that, then we're going to tighten up the bolt on the tie rod, and then we're going to be done with it. Now, I should mention that there's actually some specifications on how offset the tire should be. And what I mean by offset is what degree, what orientation it should be in. On some cars, the orientation is usually a bit inwards. It's about 1/16 of an inch inwards. What I mean by this is that the front of the tire is about 1/16 of an inch more inset than the back of the tire. So it looks like a V. On a Honda Insight, the specification is that it's actually completely straight. It's 0 degree offset. So that means that we have the right offset. There's no change from the front to the back. On some cars, it might be different. So if you're doing this, I definitely suggest that you check out the specifications on how on the orientation of your tires. All right, so we're under the car now. We're going to tighten up this bolt just to make sure that it doesn't move. Just to make sure it doesn't move, it might not move, but just to make sure the tie rod doesn't spin, I'm going to hold it in place. Then I'm going to tighten this. Okay, this one, instead of going down, it's going up. Oh, and as you can see, it goes up. So I have to make sure that this stays back in its previous orientation and hold it in place. Okay, let's tighten it. Oh. There we go. Okay. And as you can see, now it's getting tighter. Oh, and as you can see, when I tighten it enough, this wrench right here actually goes up. And now I just need to do the final touches. There we go. All right, so at this point, we don't have to worry about the tie rod now. We have to worry about this one right here, the ball joint. So we have to hold this again as we tighten it. You want to make sure you use a longer wrench for this so you can get more leverage. This is a really weird position, and I'm doing this because I need to show on camera. But the idea is to tighten it while you're holding this. Alright, so my dad checked it. He was actually about to rotate it about like a 16th and 1/8 more of a rotation before he realized, like, I'm actually pretty strong. And I tightened it to about the point where it needs to be. So as you can see, the bolt is tightened enough to the ball joint, and the tie rod looks like it's in pretty tip-top shape. So now we can take out all of our tools and then make sure, once again, that your tires are aligned, because while you're doing this, you might have accidentally realigned the tire or the tie rod while you were tightening this. So just make sure that it's realigned. And then I have one more thing to say. You can actually use the other side of your car as a reference for the orientation. Actually, hold on. I should do this. Okay, what I was saying earlier is that if you only do suspension work on one side of the car, and you already know that your car's wheels were aligned before that, then you can use the other side of the car as a reference point. Here we know that we already know that this side of the car was aligned after we took it to the garage. So we can measure the orientation that it was in. Here we knew that it was gonna, when we measured it, we saw that it was straight. When you're working with other cars, you might find that it's actually 1/16 of an inch further inwards on the front. So if you're only doing suspension work on one side and you already know that it's aligned on the other side, sorry about the wind, you can use the other side as a reference point for the angle of orientation of the tire that you're working on. Alright, so now you want to make sure you want to do last checks. You want to see if it's the same distance on both sides. We already did that off camera. It's 1/16 here, 1/16 here. We already checked that this is aligned. After that, then you want to test it. Hey, Daddy. Then you want to test it while driving. You want to take the jack off, and then you want to drive straight back and forward, and you want to see if the car goes straight. And you want to make sure that the steering wheel is straight while you're driving back and forth. And if the steering wheel is straight while you're driving back and forth, then you know it's not crooked. So this is my friend Teddy.
Hey.
He's a guest star. Thanks for coming. So
yeah, sure.
We're aligning my brother Oscar's tires, and right just now I was telling them that in order to make sure that it's straight, that when you drive back and forth on the road, and your steering wheel is in the correct orientation, that means that the your tires are aligned correctly.
Nice. How long does this take?
Actually, guess how long?
2 hours.
Actually, more like 15 minutes, maybe
Oh,
30
wow.
minutes. And all you have to do is you gotta set up this string right here on both sides, and then you gotta measure the distance from the front
Yeah.
of the tire to the string and the back of the tire to the string. And you want to make sure that, of course, you want to calibrate it with something that you know is straight, like
Yeah.
the back wheel. But on the front wheel, you want to make sure that that distance is the same. And then if it's not the same, then you got to go back behind the tire. Then there's like a tie rod. There's like a rod that you can twist to adjust it. And after that, you just twist it. Go back outside, and you want to see if it's straight. And then when it's straight, you know it's straight. And you test it.
How much did you adjust it?
So before it was like 7/8. 7/8 of an inch here.
Yeah.
No, actually it was like 1/2 an inch here, and over here it was 1.5 inch. So basically, instead of going straight, it was going inwards.
Yeah.
So we brought it to about 1 inch here and 1 inch here. So that means we adjusted it about 1/2 an inch. So quite a lot.
Cool.
So instead of paying, how much does alignment job often cost?
I think $150, $200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Oscar, it costed around $120.
Yeah.
So instead of doing it for $120,
How much is he paying you?
the family and friends discount at the ice cream store. And
Nice.
instead of paying $120, you can do it for only $0.
Nice.
Basically free.
Let's go check it out.
All right. Thanks, Daddy.
Thanks, man. Nice work.
Let's go to the beach after this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so one last thing. If you have made all the adjustments that you want to the car, and then you drive it, and then you find out that there's like a very minor adjustment that you need to make, like maybe like 1/16 of an inch that you need to calibrate, what you want to do is you want to drive back onto 2 pieces of cardboard. You don't need to jack up the car. You need to drive onto these 2 pieces of cardboard, and then you can go in and you can manually turn the tires so that you can get behind the tires and access the tie rod. Loosen the tie rod up a bit and then adjust it as you need. And then you want to rotate it back, test drive it again and see if it works. And the reason that we're doing those 2 sheets of cardboard is because when you just have your when you have your tire on the ground, it has a lot of friction with the asphalt. Like asphalt and rubber have like a lot of friction, as opposed to 2 pieces of cardboard when they're sliding with each other. It's very easy, as opposed to rubber and asphalt. That's why you have the 2 sheets of cardboard. But anyway, that's all for now. I'm Aiman, and today I gave you tips on how to I gave you tips on how to check to see if your tires are unaligned. And then I gave you tips on how to actually align your tires on your own. So I'm Aiman, and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look at videos on EyeOnAiman, especially the auto repair videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to check out that video on replacing the lower control arm that I mentioned before, and I'll see you there. But for now, Mechanic Aiman signing out. Peace.